And like I say, a lot of the things I've had to deal with too, besides plague, Ebola, stamping out diseases, that's what Germany was doing for me and stuff like that, and the scientists were doing in Germany and all that other stuff, Auschwitz and all that stuff was trying to get a handle on the plague and other things. And actually remove all these viruses from the world, like smallpox and Ebola and everything else, and basically try and get rid of things like the plague virus or plague viruses. I think there were four of them or so. There's quite a few strains of plague. And like I said, there's this other problem apparently where people didn't know that the military. People asked me or contacted me at one point in time and asked me, well, does the military have have storage sites of all these viruses? Like, oh yeah, I mean, I had both the military, like the CDC, only it's military, and I also had the CDC, which was a civilian operation and more of a conglomerate of different countries that were, my different researchers in different countries that were talking together. So the American government or my military, I guess Germany or whatever, one of my governments, one of my government, I had a couple governments, I guess in Russia and whatever, and like for instance, in Russia, there's this one case where basically I had a research facility, and apparently the bacterium or whatever became airborne at some point in time, and actually somehow got out and was actually went into this town, and we had to like go in there into the town and fix it and all that other stuff. And I don't know how it became airborne, but somehow it mutated apparently in one of the rats or something like that, and became airborne, and or mutated somehow. This one little thing, and I don't know if it came from my plant or my research facility in Russia or not. But yeah, that was basically my research facility, and yeah, and that's why everything was disclosed. And there's immediate action, and a lot of people said, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, there's immediate action, and it was a Russian research facility or something like that, where basically the virus got out, and they immediately warned everybody in the neighborhood, and actually went around, and it only actually got to this one house or this one little small community, and but only like 50 people or 30 people were actually, or maybe 80, 60 people were actually infected or something like that, and it was dealt with right away. Anyway, I don't know if they had antibodies or whatever, but yes, I had quite a few military disease research facilities, as well as other things, and to try and figure out ways of dealing with these diseases, and also to remove them from the world, my planet. So yeah, that's how like I have Russian doctors, and like I said, the first hospitals in Russia, and also the first modern day hospital in Germany, and the first modern day hospital in Russia, and like having different entrances for the dead versus and for the what's it called, and figuring all that out, so where you won't be infecting people there for a checkup, because back in Germany and back in the old days, people would go in for a checkup and they'd walk out with like Ebola or plague. So there was some crossover stuff that was happening, and it had to do with the ventilation systems. Separating the ventilation systems, so the morgue has its own ventilation system, and all these ventilation systems, and people were going, and also separate the different wards of the hospital, so like babies don't get plague virus and all that other stuff from dead people coming in. So you can have all this stuff inside of one building, which is actually a tricky situation. I think Germans or somebody, I forget exactly who, but basically that's how I'm also the father of modern day medicine and all that stuff, because it's my people working to build all these things and do all this stuff. And that's how Lucifer Starline goes from not just being a ship manufacturer, and not just being ship manufacturer, to actually being whatever, blah, 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 blah. And also taking care of old people, and blah, 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 blah. And, it's a headache. But yeah, that's how I know about all these things, and how these actually lead to me. And, and that's why, I mean, like Unit 731, and that's how I can tell you that Unit 731 was not, or I can tell you exactly what Unit 731 was doing. They were doing flea bombs and figuring out how to kill fleas and stuff like that, because, eliminate plague and fleas and all that other stuff. And that's how I know exactly what Unit 731 was doing, and all the different things that they were doing in Japan and everything else. And everyone was like, oh, the Japanese are doing all. And it's like, no, they're doing exactly what I told them to do, and that's how like the vivisection technique, which is still the technique that they use today. And they did lose one or two patients, yes, but they only lost like two or three, and it wasn't all that bad, and it was voluntary, and because of complications, and they very quickly learned, and that's how also like I had my doctors practicing on dead bodies and stuff like that, and that's how all that becomes. That's all just my decisions and how I told them to do it and stuff like that. My people were just following my lead and following and doing my wishes and doing things the way I wanted them to do it because I was paying them and because I was directing them and because I was also their lord or whatever, or a very wealthy person, blah, blah, blah. And that's how I'm this great, monumental, amazing person who is also blah, 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 all these other things. So, and then you get into Abraham Lincoln and JFK and Nixon, which are basically just congressmen or playtesters of society, which really had nothing to do with anything. They had nothing to do with anything at all. They were just like cockroaches that were just hanging around the DC building trying to get money or trying to figure out how the government or whatever worked. And it took them years and years and lifetimes and blah, 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 blah to get anywhere near anything, and basically a whole bunch of lies about like Germany doing legal experiments that they really weren't. Apparently, I was appalled at seeing some pictures of some dead bodies, but apparently some shot of dead bodies or something like that. And there was actually some people that they had to do. Some people went in for makeup research, and they were cut upon by somebody, probably Nixon, or like I was told, there was actually some institutions in the United States or somewhere in one of the states that actually did all the they were like cutting people's skull caps off and like poking their brains and stuff like that or something. I don't know. Anyway, Richard Nixon, basically, JFK, Jimmy Carter, and some other stuff and what they were doing. And they were turning these other complexes into their own little private sex shops or something like that, where they were trying to lead the people and get them to have sex with them or something. And so much of, like, really wrong shit, but, and like I said, I was having them investigated and having it all found out about because, like, I don't want that stuff around me. I don't know if you want that stuff around you, but it's just fucked up. I don't even think like a gang member, or the Southsiders or whatever, Northsiders or whatever, the different gangs want that shit around them. So, anyway, so I was paying for all these places to be investigated and found, and like I said, that was the whole problem. Is that one, I do have a country. I do have countries. I had millions of people. Like I said, that's why they were so scared of me, because I had a 1,000,000-man army in China. It was a 1,000,000-employee army, but yeah, and they could all fight, and they were trained to fight, and everything else like that, but that doesn't mean I was going to do anything with them, so, yeah, like I said, Richard Nixon, JFK, and John McCain, everybody was like, well, and like I said, Richard Nixon was kicked out of China, and probably kicked out of a lot of different countries. Anyway, he was basically just a liar, and just a thief, and just some fake-ass piece of shit. Along with Jimmy Carter, Richard Nixon, and a bunch of other people. So, anyway, and it had nothing to do with the government and nothing to do with anything. I'm just lying to the public. So, anyway, and that's why we swear on the Bible now. Do you swear on the Bible? It's like, how about a polygraph? Or let's get some drugs on that. And like I said, even the Russian drug experiments, whatever, Russia or my Russian whatever, they're like, the Russians call the law. It's like, no, that was actually my scientists, and they're coming up with drugs to get, blah, blah, blah. And that, again, was me. And my people were coming up with those drugs in Russia or someplace like that, and those were my scientists. And yeah, they were finding out some stuff about people, and it was actually Nixon that was actually, well, I have to know everything about everything, but really didn't really know all that much, but he was just went around drugging people to find out the truth. So, anyway, but, and basically, I don't know, so much fucked up shit, so. Anyway, yeah, so, and it was actually, yeah, like I say, it was Congress actually wanted the access to the drugs the most so they could figure out what the fuck was going on, or just, I don't know. But it's like, it's so big and so complex that, in their lifetime, it would take lifetimes to understand it all. So, and these videos are actually probably more explanative than anything else. And like, I'll volunteer the information. I don't care. Like, it's years and years and years ago, and stuff that I was involved in or I was doing. Basically having done my researchers, and they were coming up with all kinds of things, including like LSD and all kinds of other stuff. And it was all very careful and tested out on rats first and all that other stuff, and then or mice, and then eventually people. Once we knew it was safe. So, most people that found out information about me and what my people were doing, or what I was doing, what Lucifer Starline was doing, basically, it's nothing but good stuff, really. So, it's not really all that bad at all. In fact, it wasn't like everything was good. Like that's why I just admit everything. It's just basically truth finding, research, invention, building, mining, also inventing a government, and also voting system, and blah blah blah, and all kinds of other stuff for my country. Be well as on vacation. So anyway, so yeah, mostly has to do with my vacation. So as a person for the first time or whatever. So taking some time off just to relax. And it was supposed to be an epic vacation, lots of partying and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, it didn't really work out like that. I had some other people that got in the way. So anyway, yeah, so it's just really stupid, and most of the people involved either got killed or hunted down or tortured for a very long time, and blah blah, and weren't Chinese or Japanese. It was actually the people who knew they were going to be tortured that were actually going around torturing other people to stop them from being tortured or whatever. And like I said, I think the exoskeletons or the 1.5s came in and got them anyway. So anyway, like I said, to no avail. Because like I said, I didn't actually use humans or humanity, actually. And most of my people were actually like exoskeletons, 1.5s, and somewhat humanity. So yeah, also some Irishmen, some other people, and they were dealing with things too that they saw as a problem and using my money to do it, which is fine. It's fine. I mean, I love the Irishman. I can trust an Irishman. I could also trust a Chinese or Japanese person as well, and a lot of people. The Council of Britain, not so much. They were indicted on a lot of horrible things, and also some of the kings or queens of England. They were also really bad, trying to marry 12-year-old girls. Like I said, Jimmy Carter he actually wanted me to lower the marriage age so he could actually marry a 12-year-old girl for some strange reason. And I don't know why. That's just sick. So anyway, yeah. So like I said, when I found out, I was like, oh hell no, that's not happening. So you're not marrying a 12-year-old girl. Anyway, 80-year-old Jimmy Carter or something like that wanted to have sex with a 12-year-old girl, wanted to be with it. I don't know. It was sick and disgusting or something like that. I don't really know. So, and like I said, eventually I said, no, you can't do that. So maybe you wanted to marry Queen. I don't know. Whatever. It's just sick and disgusting.